Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Health and Wealth Podcast with your hosts, Tim and Carter.
What's trending, Enrichers? Carter Wilcoxon, founder of CSI Financial Group here, with my co-host and former wealth advisor, Tim James, founder of
ChemicalFreeBody.com and your new health advisor. This is the show where we reveal the connection between physical and financial abundance.
Hey, welcome back, Enrichers, to another episode of the Health and Wealth Podcast Show. We are super excited about our guest today, but before we introduce him, I want to go ahead and see how Mr. Chemical Free Body himself, Tim James, is doing out there in Oregon. Timmy, how are you, bud?
Hey, dude, I'm doing awesome. Little business snafu today, but we got it fixed. And other than that, life is good. That's we got to take those hits to build resilience and come back stronger. So we welcome them, right?
Yeah, well, no doubt about it, right? Any type of immunity we can, build up naturally, that'll help us out for sure.
Build your business and build your immune system.
Yeah, the life of the entrepreneur, right? If you don't have constant issues that you're trying to, fires you're putting out, then you're probably not doing something right.
Yeah, somebody told me one time that customer issues or customer complaints, you want to look at those as gifts, because they really are, because they give you a chance to improve your processes and for the, make it right for them, and then help so the next people down the road don't have to even go there. Right.
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
Your business gets stronger and your clients get happier, and it's a better deal.
Yeah. What's this shirt? I haven't seen this shirt before. What does that shirt say?
It says plant powered.
Plant powered. Nice. Is there anything on the back of it?
It's an old school shirt. You can see it's pretty faded. There's nothing on the back. It was a black shirt. Now it's heading towards dark gray.
I mean, for all I knew, that was retro. I didn't know if it was faded or retro.
Yeah, it's retro, dude. I paid a lot of extra money for it.
I mean, you remember whenever we were kids, right? Mom would put a patch over the hole in our jeans. Now they make jeans with holes in them.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I want to go ahead and bring in our guest today, Ari Rastegar, coming in from Austin, the Oracle of Austin, as he's been known to be called in Forbes magazine, I believe, just recently. So Ari, how are you doing, bud?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure. You and I, we've been going back and forth, and it's funny, our infancy or our beginning started on Instagram. Right? Like we were not even sure exactly how we connected, but
yeah, it's exactly right. And I'm not too savvy with all of that stuff. I've kind of just recently started to kind of learn what that means. My 5-year-old son, knows more about, social media and TikTok and Instagram than I ever will, so I kind of new to it, but we have a good team that's kind of, going through that stuff, and I'm learning a lot.
Yeah, well, I can tell you that when it comes to social media, that engaging back and forth, you can form some relationships. I mean, obviously, we never knew each other. We're going to find out today. You're going to be sharing with the Enrichers your backstory here in just a little bit, but it's the purpose, I think, of social media was really to be more social, right, as opposed to what it sometimes feels like more like socialist. I digress. But it's been a great way for me to, create relationships. And this is a perfect example of it. So, if you're engaging with your followers and you're following other people and you're trying to, add more influence or whatever in any business that you're in, Enrichers, if you're listening out there, make sure you engage with your followers. And they actually are a lot of times the people who are on there are actually the ones who own the handles. Right. So you and I started communicating on Instagram, became, friends and followers and everything. And now here we are.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Different world.
Not
very cool.
No doubt about it. So I think that was the original social distancing we were supposed to be doing. Anyway, again, I digress. So Enrichers, get ready. We are getting ready to find out about Ari Rastegar and his backstory. So, what they really want to know, Ari, is what led you into commercial real estate and all the things that you're doing? And we're going to get to that, I know, in the second segment. But, take us back to however far you want to go. What was your attraction to this industry and where you're at today? Talk a little bit about, where you came from and then like where you're at today.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So, you know, I don't come from too much. You know, my dad was an Iranian immigrant, was studying here in Austin, Texas, where I am right now, where I was born, and where I live now with my wife and 3 kids. And, you know, the Iranian Revolution broke out in the, you know, late 70s, early 80s, and they ended up staying here and kind of had to start over, you know. And so right around that time, I think my dad found out that his girlfriend was pregnant, and you know, here I am. So it was an interesting time growing up. You know that it's hard to say you came from nothing. You know, when you're so blessed to be born in America and born the time that we are, but we really didn't have much, at all. I mean, I flipped burgers through high school, delivered pizzas through college. Had to went to 2 community colleges before transferring into Texas A&M. Then went to law school and borrowed $3,000 from my friend's dad and started my investment company while I was in law school in my first year. And it's been a ride. And since then, I spent time on Wall Street, came back and started my own shop, to really institutionalize, what we're doing in private equity. And since then, we've invested in, 38 cities, 12 states, 7 asset classes. And we're now one of the most prolific buyers and developers, I guess, in Austin, in the Austin MSA, and having a lot of fun doing it. There's always challenges, and there's always, my grandpa used to say, when you pray for the rain, it's a translation from Farsi, but when you pray for the rain, you got to deal with the mud. So there's always something to deal with, but I'm lucky to do what I love, and that love was instilled in me from my dad and my grandpa. Early on, my grandpa always thought that he was a medical doctor, and I wanted to be a doctor like he was, and he wanted me to be a businessman. When we look at these big buildings in downtown Dallas walking together, when I was a kid, and he'd say, you need to own these types of buildings and build these buildings, and it kind of just laid that little chip, or that little thing in the back of my head. And I got that itch and followed it. And what I love about it is not only, in our multifamily platform, you're creating people's homes, and I really love that experience, marrying technology with that, because we're as much a data company, data technology company, as we are a real estate company, to really enhance this customer experience. Or you look at our retail business and the restaurants that we have in there and seeing how people eat, how they entertain. And we're building a large master plan community, and that incorporates all of them, that has, officing, how people work, and then how people live. And I'm very interested in the architecture and the design, and, how that's evolving, and, through technology, through time. But real estate allows you to touch, so many different things. Like you can, if you have a shopping center, as an example, you get to learn a little bit about, Starbucks, or a little bit about Target, or about, these different businesses. And it kind of keeps it exciting, to be a little bit to I kind of say, know enough to be dangerous, but not enough to, go do anything of substance. But we're developing condos now, all the condos, single family homes, multifamily, office. So we're really just looking for deep value, tech-centered areas within the Sun Belt, cities like Nashville, Tennessee, Raleigh, Austin, Dallas, Phoenix, Arizona. We love. We're building condos in downtown Phoenix. Let's break in the next year.
So I'm going to get a little deeper in that in the next segment, but I want to go back in time a little bit.
Sure.
Real fast. Because when you were starting to talk about, so you were born in the United States.
In Austin. Yeah, I was born here in Texas.
Yeah, born and raised in Texas.
Yeah.
But your family, it was during, and I remember whenever I was in grade school, right? I'll be 50 in January in Richards. I think you guys know that already. But I remember the hostage crisis situation in 78, 79. I remember, every day we would come into the cafeteria and you would like get some kind of an update. And it was like, as a kid, it was the scariest thing ever. Can you share any of those types of stories that maybe your family shared with you when they were dealing with that?
Yeah. So I wasn't born, obviously, when all this stuff happened. And there's a lot of, Iranian Americans that share the same kind of story. And, our family wasn't Muslim. And so they killed our whole family, basically. So it was and again, our story isn't unique. Like a lot of, if you go into, we kind of joke about Los Angeles, where my wife is from, that it's Tehrangeles, and Tehran is the capital of Iran, whatever, because there's so many Iranians that are there,
right.
That share the same plight. But literally, it was a light bulb. I mean, it was like literally turned from this, it was a monarchy technically, but the civil rights side of what Iran was. I mean, my grandmother is an example, who's Iranian, and my mother is German, by the way. So I'm kind of, half, kind of was a volcano meeting a tornado. But anyways, they divorced when I was 2 years old. But, my grandmother, who passed away in her 80s, was a lawyer. So she literally went to law school when she was 22 years old. So you look at where Iran was, and she passed away 3 years ago. So 60, some years ago, she was a female in law school. So if you look at like women's suffrage and you look at all the things that, we've experienced in the United States, for where the country is now in terms of human rights and, whatever freedoms or lack thereof that exist there, that's not what Iran was. And, it was very much a, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, these liberties that we enjoy in our great country. Many of them were there as well. So there was a massive digression, a cataclysmic digression away from, those types of liberties, with the current regime, which is, clearly a sad thing. And, hopefully that's something that changes. And, but hearing the stories that I heard from my family, from my grandmother and grandfather, that were able to escape, through Turkey, we're out of northern Iran, through the mountains. My grandpa, had frostbite, almost died, and then went to Turkey, and then were able to immigrate to the United States. And my uncles and my aunt were already here studying, and the plan was to go back to Iran. But the stories that they spoke about is not the Iran that, we would see on the news today, or, you would read about, whatsoever. So it's just this stark difference, between what it is. And, so the stories that I'm told from their Iran were very beautiful stories. And, ones that are filled with, with joy and laughter and all that good stuff. And, I think it looks a little bit different these days.
Yeah, I think that there's this has been a pattern going on all over the world where like the working class people all over the world are decent, good, hardworking people. They just want to raise their children and have a good life and do that kind of stuff. It's elites that have disrupted governments and intentionally and to looking for power, profits, and control. And it happened in your parents in their home country. And, now it's happening here. We're losing our freedom. Our First Amendment is now, it's gone for the most part. And, there's, so the reality is there's one solution. Because I heard you say earlier, it's like, I hope it changes, right? Well, the only way it's going to change is if guys like you and me and Carter get off our asses and start going neighbor to neighbor and uniting working class people again. I mean, that's where we have to go.
I mean, the word, you nailed the word. It is about unity, and there's the thing that bothers me, and with just politically as an example, people ask me, am I a Republican, a Democrat, or whatever it is, and my response is always, I'm an American, first and foremost. And as an attorney, when you're sworn in, different than the Hippocratic oath that doctors take, is you swear to protect the Constitution of the United States of America, right? And so it's something that is near and dear to my heart when I think of the Constitution of the United States. Like, it's something that, you know, I've sworn to uphold, literally, you know,
Yeah.
and to see those liberties erode in any way, shape, or form, you know, is troublesome for me. Like, it's something that, you know, that bothers me. And I look at both sides of the parties. You know, look, take anybody, forget about politics even. I don't agree with anybody on everything, period. I don't agree with my 5-year-old on everything. You know, like, it doesn't mean I don't like you. It doesn't mean I don't love you. And it's become this thing where it's like, if we disagree, then somehow I hate you, or I'm you know, like, I don't like that guy. Like, isn't that what a dialectic is? Like, if you look at the Socratic methods, or, you know, I was an English major at undergrad, and I'm a huge lover of books. My book comes out in December called The Gift of Failure. And, you know, God knows I've failed myself and plenty of times, more than I care to admit. But, you know, ultimately, you're right. Like, finding that unity, finding that peace, and being able to respectfully disagree, you know, is where I found in my life, surrounding myself with believable people that respectfully disagree with me in certain areas, and that have their own data, have their own vantage points, that we can, you know, respect each other. Respect is where you find the best ideas. And early in my career, I wanted to be right. Now I want the right answer. and it's, you know, and it's made the biggest difference in the world. And the times, and, you know, in committees, when we're looking at a deal, or, you know, going through something, and someone has a, you know, a dissenting argument on what it is, and you have that aha moment where you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't think about that. Like, wow. You know, it's like, before I felt like it was a shot at my ego. I was like, oh, I missed it. But now I'm like, so happy. I'm like, I missed that. Awesome. You caught it. Love you. Like, great. Like, you know, like, or I disagree with you. And now I've tried to kind of train myself, and you still feel a little sting sometimes, or I do, if someone disagrees with something that I'm saying. I find myself wanting to embrace it more and be like, oh, okay, what do you think? You know, and then I start hearing this thing of them bombarding, you know, or just smashing whatever, you know, concept I have, and I'm listening to it. I'm like, that's interesting. You know, that's wow. You know, I don't agree with you, but I certainly respect where you're coming from. And until we have that in a cross-party way, as you're mentioning, and uniting working class people, uniting all people, and hearing those different vantage points, and not eroding liberties, you know, that change, I don't think, will happen to the way that I think we all would like it to.
Yeah, well, and obviously, with your backstory and your history and everything, it's a cautionary tale a little bit, right? You know, what Iran looked like maybe in the 50s and 60s compared to what it looks like today.
I would say it all the time. My dad says it to this day, you know, with, you know, tears. My dad's an attorney also, you know, went to law school later on in life. And, you know, he said, look, I've seen, you know, I've lost a country before. You know, he's like, I have, like, he pointed to himself, and, you know, and he loves this country so much. And, you know, it's just, you know, it's funny. Every generation says that this generation is going to screw it all up. It's rock and roll first, then it's rap music, then it's like, or whatever, you know, it's all, you know, every generation. So I don't know if I'm just getting old. I'm certainly getting more gray hair. But, you know, it's definitely a very, very interesting time, to say the least.
Yeah, no doubt. And, you know, really what you're talking about there about the unity, and is the thing that feels sort of suppressed and watered down is, as far as I'm concerned, the diversity of thoughts. It's like,
Sure.
No, we don't want any diversity of thought. It's either this way or this way. And the old saying of divide and conquer could never be more appropriate than what's actually happening right now. And, you know, politically speaking, I feel the exact same way. It's not a left or a right. It's not a red or a blue. You know, it's about right or wrong, right? But it's also about being open and respectful to what's happening to actual real working class men and women that have helped to make this country as great as it is today. And I'm a father, right? I've got, you know, young kids still. And all I care about is that when I tell them growing up that they can be anything they want to be, I, by God, want it to mean something, right? Not like, sorry, lied to you. You can't be anything you want to be whenever you're in this country. It's not the land of opportunity any longer. We can't have that, because we are the last great country, as far as I'm concerned, you know, that shining light on the hill that is there, the bastion of freedom and the Constitution that you are upholding. We do take that seriously, and you don't have to be a law scholar to understand the purpose behind, the Bill of Rights and the Constitution that, we the people frame.
Yeah. Well, guys, hey, we have to take a quick break, but when we get back, we'll pick up the conversation with commercial real estate investor Ari Rastegar. We'll be right back.
Are you concerned about being able to get all of your affairs in order during this trying time? Are you troubled by what would happen if you ever became incapacitated? Maybe you've been procrastinating in the past to address these issues, but now, more than ever before, you know just how important it is to get everything documented. Well, don't worry, because we can get you taken care of right from the comfort of your own home. Welcome to the revolutionary My Life Card Plan estate plan processing platform, home of the last estate plan you'll ever need. We are very pleased you are here, and rest assured, we can offer you a complete estate planning experience regardless of where in the 50 states you may live. Our unique transformational system combines efficiency, convenience, and professional support at levels you never thought possible for setting up your estate plan. Moreover, we will provide you with powerful, user-friendly dynamics that put you in total control of your plan throughout your lifetime. Call us today at 888-316-6040 or go to www.csifinancialgroup.com, and our team of specialists will be there to assist you every step of the way.
What's up, Enrichers? Tim James here. I'm back with my co-host Carter Wilcoxon. Today in the house, we've got commercial real estate investor Ari Rastegar having a nice conversation about, truth, freedom, and health again. Here we go. So why don't we go ahead and get into, Ari, more about like your business and the type of business that you offer for certain clientele in your neck of the woods.
But let me jump in real fast. I want to know how you went from a $3,000 loan to being like one of the top influencers in your industry.
Well, that's very kind of you to say that. Well, the $3,000 loan came from my friend's father when I was in law school to build a single family home near Canyon Lake, which is a little bit north of San Antonio, a little bit south of Austin, Texas, for the listeners that don't know the area. And I went and knocked on the developer's door, whose name I saw on most of the, houses that were being built and sold. Like it was literally, I saw framing, sold. And I went to the office and just said, hey, I got a few $1,000. I got some scholarship money. The lot was $4,000 and it's a little 2-bedroom, 1-bath, like, kind of like a lake house, type of thing. And I said, look, I'll be here at 5:00 in the morning. I don't know anything really about real estate, but I'll buy the land and if you build it at cost, we can split the profits. And, he looked at me like I was insane, which maybe I was. But he said yes. And so that's what we did. And so my first year of law school was, as most, I think, first year law students will tell you, is a little bit of a gauntlet. So getting up at 5 a.m. and pouring concrete and tying rebar and, trying to assist the electricians and the, mechanical and plumbing, and then rushing in work boots and, getting mud and dirt all over the hallways, rushing into class. And, it was definitely an experience, but we sold 1, sold 2, and it kept growing. And so by my 3rd year of law school, which I graduated in 2008, so we can know kind of how this story ends a little bit. We had built a great business, and then the world came to an end. And my partner was kind enough to give me my scholarship money back, plus the $3,000 with some interest. I thought I was going to walk away with a few $1 million, and if the world would have continued, maybe it would have been that way. But instead, I was lucky enough to be able to pay back my investors, which is, a creed I still live by, is just preserve capital. Making money comes second. To me, preservation of capital has always been my core value, that I learned from that from that first huge kick to the face. I think my jaw might be a little still sore from 2008, but then I went to Wall Street.
Yeah, well, hold on, Ari. What was that like in your gut? What did that feel like? Because I was in the mortgage industry in 2008, and I had a couple things like that happen to me.
Well,
But
you
some
keep
people got.
talking, you might throw up. That's how it feels.
Yeah.
You keep asking, like I'm starting to get nauseous and get vertigo, and I'm starting to reel. So I'd appreciate it if we can move the conversation on. It fucking sucked,
Yeah, it's tough.
There's no way around it. You get a taste of, what's that like? I was getting $3 tips delivering pizzas the year before, working at Double Dave's Pizza in College Station, Texas. I started to drink my own Kool-Aid, thinking that this is gonna whatever, and maybe it would have, but we, the stuff that we built and sold was great product. And actually, one of my closest family friends, still to this day, bought one of the houses that we built and lives there now. So I get this, amazing kind of pleasure of still knowing that, we built a great house, these years later, and it's gone up in value crazy. And, she's really, really happy with it. And so it's kind of nice to be able to look back and connect those dots and know that we built a great product. And, something that I'm proud now more than anything is that, we built something that, meant something to her and meant something to me.
So not to make it nauseous, going back to the Great Recession and everything, but you just had a book that you wrote, published, released. I'm not sure exactly where you're at in the process right now.
It's planning to be released in December.
Okay, in December, and it's called The Gift of Failure. I will assume that was the infancy of The Gift of Failure is 2008. Is that fair?
I think I started failing a lot earlier than that, probably around 7 months old when I was trying to walk.
That's true.
Getting up and falling down. You come to learn, or I believe that, failure is inherent, to how we make progress. It's literally. So you learn to walk, right, as a kid, and you get up, you fall down, you get up, you fall down, you get up, you fall down, and then someday you're walking, and that becomes really one of the fundamentals of life. And I'm a big believer in any type of success that I've studied over the years, and I'm a voracious reader. Anybody that knows me knows that. Maybe it's the English major in me. Both my parents are huge, big readers. And I'm still the idiot that packs the books themselves. They got to read on a Kindle or on an iPad or anything. I like the book. I like to hold the book and dog ear the pages and underline it and, whatever. But you start to learn that when you have these failures, and the more that you have, what are you going to do about it? Right. So there's this one thing of, you fail and you get back up. Okay, that's great. And that's, necessary to continue, as John Maxwell says, fail forward. Right. But to me, it was about the introspection of the failure, is being able to turn back around and look at it. Whereas my instinct was to just brush it under the rug, get back up, dust myself up, and just keep moving. But it wasn't until that I stopped and kind of looked at that fear, because it was so uncomfortable. It's so uncomfortable to look at something that you've messed up or you did wrong, big or small. It's embarrassing. It makes you feel uncomfortable. It's and so you have to kind of get comfortable being uncomfortable, for lack of a better description.
Yeah.
But looking at that failure, putting the impetus on yourself, because I believe that, and not from a place of ego, but a place of humility, of putting it on me, of saying, well, if something went wrong, everything that's ever gone wrong in my life, I was there. So I know one constant, right? And I'm a math guy or technology guy. So I'm like, okay, well, if the constant was me in all those, what can I fix about myself, what can I learn from this thing and change in myself? And that's really what the book is about, is not only sharing a failure of some sort, but the introspection into it. And then a tool that was garnered, like, as I started to, work more and more on Wall Street, and the hours got more and more, insane, and I still work, crazy hours, I guess, but it's just who I am. And I'm very lucky to be able to do what I love. But you start to look at those things and say, okay, what can I learn from this? And when I look at my health as one of the big examples, is, I started to, my hair started to thin, and, I saw, dark circles under my eyes, and I was tired all the time, and I'm working longer, and I'm pushing myself harder and harder and harder. And then my daughter was born, and I kind of realized, I can't go on like this. So started to see a series of doctors and try different things. And it wasn't until I met Dr. Jacob Rosenstein, who is my, age management doctor. He's one of the foremost, he wrote a book called Defy Aging. And he's one of the foremost experts on telomeres, on, just overall. And anti-aging is probably a bad word. People say anti-aging, we age, it's fine, but it's how you age. And he tested my blood, pulled 12, 15 vials, and every 60 days he looks at 150 different things, going on in my blood, and creates pharmaceutical grade vitamins at a compounding pharmacy specifically designed for me, and pharmaceutical grade hormone replacements to optimize my health. And I do that, so I can contribute, like, so that I can, feel good and work a long day and be home with my kids. I didn't have anything left in the tank. And, by changing the way that I ate, and my cholesterol was horribly bad, for my age, being in my early 30s. And he was like, well, we have a few options. You can go the Lipitor route, we can go the Mediterranean diet, or you can, try going vegan. But vegan the right way, as he would say, of eating, real vegetables, none of this, junk food, no processed foods, no sugar, zero. And still I'm no sugar, no gluten, no dairy, at all. I say at all, but I kind of adhere to that 80-20 rule at this point in my life, that if my kids want to eat pizza on Friday night or something, or whatever. But if it's me, I'll eat sardines, a can of sardines on top of, some lettuce or whatever, a little olive oil, some water, I'm good. Right. And so I went vegan, for 90 days. And my cholesterol went from 320 to 156. And I just watched with the numbers, what that could do, and directly to my business, or how I was operating in the world, changed profoundly. Like, my attitude even changed, my internal dialogue changed, the anxiety and, the things that I was experiencing, all started to, dwindle. And I started to just feel better overall, sleep better overall. And I started to realize that without my health, and I know this is very cliche, they say health is wealth, or, these different things, and I use them as well, but cliches are cliches for a reason. And it's became a major focus, in my life. I mean, now, from being in hyperbaric chambers to, cryotherapy to, vitamin therapy intravenously, to the vitamins and the way that I eat. I now adhere to that kind of Mediterranean diet that's probably 80% plant-based, organic, leafy green vegetables, and small amounts of protein, mostly fish, low mercury fish, cold water fish like sardines, mackerel, salmon. Don't eat much tuna or shark or things like that. Most of those predatory fish have very higher levels of mercury in them, so I try to stay away from that. But I find that getting those workouts in, high intensity workouts, mixed with eating clean as I can, dramatically changed the not only my outlook on life, but just my ability to work with more vitality. And that's really what I was after, is I just wanted to work more, I wanted to contribute more. And then, people that have, are investors or public pension funds, family offices, insurance companies, high net worth individuals, et cetera, that they deserve the best of what I could offer, whatever that is. I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but they deserve my best. And, if I'm not in the gym the way I should be, eating the way that I should be, I'm not giving my best, and that's not okay with me.
Yeah. So I want to go back a little bit because, we were, drawn to one another somehow, some way. And I remember in our initial conversation about you coming on and entertaining the idea of being a guest on the podcast. And thank you again for being on here, because I loved a lot of the things and the philosophical alignment that was there. The gift of failure. One of the things that it reminds me of a story. One time when my son, who was playing baseball, he started playing golf, and then one day I said, "Hey, do you want to play baseball?" Because that's what I played growing up, and Tim actually played baseball growing up. My wife, went to Baylor University on softball scholarship. So
hey, go Bears!
Yeah, go Bears, sick 'em Bears. So she was asking me one day, "Hey, you think you'd want to play baseball?" So I ended up, I asked him. He goes, "Yeah, sure, why not?" So he started playing baseball. But I remember a story whenever I was talking to one of the other dads, and I remember him looking at me like I was an alien when I said this. And I said, essentially what your book is about. I said, I tell my son, Carter Samuel, all the time, you're going to learn a hell of a lot more from your failures than you ever will from your successes.
Amen.
And he looked at me like I had horns and I was the devil or whatever.
I would go so far as to say success taught me nothing. Maybe to be more arrogant, if it, or like, there's, you learn when it goes wrong, that's just, or wrong, quote unquote. And I even think that's the wrong approach. I even think that the word failure or things not working out or a customer complaint, whatever you want to call it, has too much baggage. Like, we look at it with this, it has this negative connotation when it's not. It's a gift, it's a blessing. And something that you had mentioned earlier, when we were kind of chatting about, a customer will say something, or something will go wrong, or a customer finds some glitch in a software, whatever it is, that's a gift or a blessing or something that they're providing to you, that you can enhance the customer experience so that thing doesn't happen again, and then goes on, as you were explaining earlier. And I couldn't agree with that more. Is, anyone who has done anything noteworthy in any capacity understands that you fall on your face, and you get back up and you learn from it, and you're on this brink of failure. There's this great book called The Talent Code. I would, highly recommend, people reading that. Talent, is also not something that is necessarily given. He posits that talent is grown. And so there's these really interesting analogies that, if you look at sprinters that have been gold medalists, there's never been a gold medalist sprinter or something of that nature. There's only been maybe one, or I forgot the exact, I'm kind of messing up the exact specifics, but the essential takeaway was the gold medalist sprinters were second, third, or fourth children or further. And was that basically at 1 or 2 years old, you're chasing around your older brother or sister. And so whether you knew it or not, you were learning how to sprint. You look at Mozart. Mozart's dad was a concert pianist, and they didn't have much money, but he would be literally at the bench next to his father. So by, at 6 months old, his dad is holding him and he's playing a piano. By 1, he's touching a piano. So they say by 6 years old, 7 years old, he was composing, his own stuff. Well, he'd already passed the 10,000 hour rule at 7 years old, because he started when he was, so even this concept of talent in a lot of degrees is something that is created, through that trial and error or whatever it is. And, look at an airplane, like airplanes autocorrect. They don't go beeline from, New York City to Los Angeles and land on a dime. They go up, they go down, they veer to the left, they veer to the right, and whatever, then you land where you're going to land. And that's just life. So saying, oh, this is a failure, or this is successful, like, I don't think that it's the correct phraseology. I don't think it's the right way of, of approaching it. Like, I failed here, or I missed on the, what do you miss? Like, I was late to the meeting. How do you know? Like, what do you really, what if you didn't get hit by a car? So you get stuck at that red light, and instead you didn't get into an accident. Like, you don't have the consciousness to see, the whole picture. You're stuck on a leaf instead of seeing the forest. And so, for me, it's come back down to more having a strong core value, having a why, or, as Simon Sinek says, of, why I'm doing this. Is it purpose driven? Is it about contribution and growth? Is it about something other than me? Is it about, making sure it's win-win? Is the other person on the other side of that also happy with the transaction? And whatever happens in the middle is none of my business. If things go wrong or they go awry, you look at them and you mitigate them, you fix them, and you keep using that as a learning process. You use introspection to figure out what happened, and then you take that tool and move forward and make a different mistake. And then you make another mistake and you learn from that and you add a tool. And one of them for me is I had, as I was building the business, had anxiety, and I was kind of feeling a little bit down, and saw a doctor, and they said, oh, well, you have anxiety, or, this, or it sounds like a depressive, or whatever, using these labels. And instead I learned transcendental meditation, and I learned how to meditate, and all of a sudden I felt better. I've been an avid meditator, now for, I don't even know how many years. But that was some kind of failure, so to speak, of something, right? Yeah.
Cool. Well, I know we're getting ready to probably come up on a break and everything, but I wanted to kind of sort of throw in one last little thing, because you said something that reminded me of what I do on a regular basis, right? I mean, I'm the eternal optimist. It's what a lot of people consider me, but there are many times when people have come to me and they're like, hey, I got some bad news, and I go, whoa, no, you don't. You just have news, right? That's all you have. It's not good or bad. You just have news. That's all you have. And it almost makes them feel better, right? Like them delivering it. I'm like, no, you don't have good or bad news. It's just news. What is it? It's only bad or good if you take it in that way. And I just refuse.
Beautiful way to put it. And it's, there's only certain things, maybe a very, very select few, that I think as a human race that we would, abhor and say this is a bad thing, right? Or this is not, but what's the old saying? There's two sides to every story. Then the truth,
I'd like to chip in here, guys, because this is something that I started learning in 2018 that changed my life and changed the dynamic after my little brother was killed in a mountain biking accident. And that was that everything in life is meaningless. It's only the meaning that we give it. Sure. Everything in life is a neutral prop. It serves double duty. So even if, some kids get wiped out, like an airplane crashes on a family and crushes them, you would say that's bad. But on a higher level, that's what those people wanted to have happen. Everything, we are responsible for every single thing that happens in our life. And I know for me, it was hard to swallow this in the beginning, but I understand it now. It took time. And my dad was a perfect example, because, I got into health like Ari, totally into biohacking, everything. Want to feel good every day when I wake up. I want to set an example. I want to have vibrancy. I'm literally focused on my cellular vibration, biophoton energy, electrons. I mean, it's a whole nother level where most people are just thinking, I want to get some vitamins in me, And, with all this and my changes and losing all the weight and healing myself, all my health issues, my father chooses not to do that. Now, I've tried being nice. I've tried being mean. I've tried everything to get him to change. But then I finally realized, he's not going to change. Right? He's going to do him. So that's fine. And then I realized that maybe on a higher level, man, he's making this is exactly what he wants to do, because this go around, he wants to experience that pain. And for whatever reason, maybe just for his own experience, or maybe that he wants to be the example, because he provides so much contrast for me. It's so much contrast. I go back every 2 weeks to see him on the farm. I help out. I'm doing stuff, and he's in pain. Every time I see him, he can barely walk, and he just grinds through it. He's just like old school, tougher nails. No, let me get the door for you. I got it. And it's just like he can do his own thing. He doesn't need any help. And I just let him do his thing. And I'm like, he just makes so much contrast for him because and that really motivates me to, not do what he's done, like on certain things. But there's another side of him, like he will not lie. He is Superman when it comes to that. My dad doesn't tell a lie. I mean, how many people can actually say that?
Amazing.
There is no lying with him. And I don't know if I told the story before, but it was called J.C. Penney's back in LeGrand, little store. And they had a little hunt and fishing department. And I was big into hunting and fishing. And there was a bunch of rods there. And we were just waiting to check out. And I looked at these rods and it was like $10.99. And I was like, this is a nice rod. And I'm like, I'm getting 3 of them, And I'm like, Dad, you got to get these for me. And he's like, oh, okay, we'll set them down there. And then the gal rang it up. And then he looked at the pole and he's like, $10.99. He's like, this rod's too nice for that. He goes, you go check that. Call your manager, And the manager comes up. Oh yeah, sorry, they're supposed to be $109.95. And I was like, damn it, And I was all mad. But my dad's like, see, I knew that was too good. Put him back, He will never lie, never lie. So you take shit like that from your parents or from life, and you take the good, and you take this quote unquote bad. It's all good. It's all how you look at it. And it's how is that circumstance going to serve me? And when your reality changes is when the very same things happen around you as it did a moment before, but the way you respond to it is different. That's when your reality has changed. And that is a very key thing that I've learned. And that's how I was able to take my brother's death that people think is horrible, blah, blah. And to me, it's been a gift because it empowered me to get out of the financial services industry and become a health coach, and create chemicalfreebody.com. And now we've helped thousands of people not experience the pain that I went through and that my father's currently going through and a lot of other things like that. So it's all gifts, man.
Well, it's a beautiful story about your dad. Ultimately it's the same thing. Like I'm kind of like you in the regard that I put the onus on myself, of whatever it is. Like I said, I'm the variable and whatever is going on there. And I say that with, like I said, with humility, like meaning I need to change me. Like if something's going on, like what can I work on myself, and my business is an extension of me as a founder and a CEO. I look at whatever those things are. I'm like, so the more that, like whether it's health wise, whether it's exercise, whether it's whatever, it's, that tree analogy, and then the business is like the branches. So the more that I do that, I found that the business has been directly correlated. And I agree with you that, situations are just situations, and it's our beliefs around them, or the meaning that we ascribe to them is what they actually mean. They mean whatever you want it to mean. You want it to mean that it sucked and it was horrible, then guess what? It sucks and it's horrible. If it means it was a blessing, guess what? It was a blessing, right? And so I agree with you there. Tony Robbins, I heard him say something a while back, and pre-pandemic. I've had a life coach now for over 10 years. That I've worked with on literally a daily basis, a variety of different topics. And and Tony said something. I would go to his seminars every few months to just get like a good refresher, and you always learn something new, at those things. And I highly recommend, if you haven't done any of the Tony Robbins stuff, certainly Unleash the Power and Date with Destiny are pretty profound, no matter, what your belief system is, there's something there for everybody. I really believe. But he said that there's a point in your life when you think that life is happening to you, like things are happening to you, at you, and you're the victim, whether you know it or not. And if you're lucky enough or fortunate enough, you find out that life was happening for you. All and as you mentioned, whether it's example from your father, some things in life we need to unlearn, and then there's things that we need to learn. And I find that I have most of the stuff is I'm unlearning, I'm taking bad, deleting old software and putting in, the new stuff. And so much of this impetus, certainly, and Mark Twain would say, I never let schooling interfere with my education, and in my education, or my schooling, they're constantly giving you this more data, more news, more stuff to learn, more stuff to bombard my rote memory system. Where in reality, there's so much stuff that I need to get out, like different beliefs or meanings that I put towards situations that need to be need to be changed or altered to serve whatever that higher purpose is.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a good spot to take a break. And
Yeah.
when we get back, we will return with our guest, Ari Rags. How do you say it?
Rastegar.
Ari Rastegar. It's a cool name. We'll be right back.
You want the absolute best for yourself, and you want it to be easy. That's why we created Green 85. It helps with detoxifying the body gently. We're proud it's chemical-free, unlike almost all other supplements you'll find. Bottom line, Green 85 will get you healthier. We look forward to hearing what Green 85 did for you.
To get this product and our other amazing products, go to chemicalfreebody.com. That's chemicalfreebody.com.
What's up, Enrichers? Tim James here with my co-host Carter Wilcoxon. I'm a little wiped out today, guys, as you can tell. I couldn't even pronounce Ari's last name in the last break. Jeez. It's that's one of those things when you own a business and you have to work those 18-hour days a few in a row trying to fix stuff. I'm like, I biohack the crap out of myself, but sleep is the one thing I'll tell you. Like, I can't get sick, but if I get 4, 5, 6 nights in a row with terrible sleep, even I can get the hints of a cold coming back on. So it just goes to show how important sleep is. So anyway, this is the segment, Ari, where we flip the script, and it's really fun for me because usually the people that I get on are just barely getting started in their health journey. They're overweight and all this kind of stuff, or they're on medications and problems. And it's kind of fun right now. I'm excited to have a fellow biohacker on. So, but if you have any questions, you can ask me, or we can just kind of wrap on some stuff. And I've got a couple things actually that I wanted to share with you that I think you'll find pretty exciting for your own personal self and for your clients. So go ahead.
Sure. Health, it's funny, we take things for granted, right? And when you think of that phrase, take things for granted, you actually think that they're just staples and they're not going to move for granted. Like it's you get it and it's not going to change. Like it's a mountain that's there, it's not going to move, or whatever analogy you want to use. And I think health is really much like that, as we truly take it for granted when we have it. Like we don't think that it can go away. But when you don't feel good, or even something as simple as a cold, you're not thinking about, money or this, that, or any of these other things. Like when you feel bad, that's dominating your entire everything. And I felt bad before, and, I get, I used to, and I still do from time to time, usually self-induced in some regard, would get, stress headaches or migraine headaches. Usually when I'm working too much and not drinking enough water, and 90% of headaches now comes from some sort of dehydration. And I'm certainly guilty of that, of drinking an extra cup of coffee in the morning and not, hydrating. I see the big sip of water at that moment. But I've come to find that when you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And that's just really the truth. I mean, it's just what it is. And people spend their lives, chasing after money or chasing after success, and then spend the rest of their lives and their money trying to get their health back, and I realized, my whole life is around being a value investor. That's what I do. And it was this like aha moment where I'm like, I am my asset. I'm the asset. And in fact, I'm the most important asset to me, so I have to take care of, like, I go spend all this money renovating an apartment building, or, building a high rise, or whatever, what we do in our core business every day. But what about renovating me? What about, what about the materials I'm putting into my body or not putting into my body, better suited. But sleep was funny, as you mentioned. I wasn't a good sleeper for most of my life, on purpose and just kind of in general. And I've kind of have that gene that I think doctors have during residency, where you can pull an all-nighter, or be in the ER up 24 hours. And, shout out to all of our frontline workers. They have all of our love and support during this time. And so I would stay up for 24 hours, no problem working, and just go back to work, take a shower, and no big deal. And then as I got older and older, that became, more and more unsustainable, for lack of a better word. And then I read Ariana Huffington's book, The Sleep Revolution. And like you, I guard my sleep now. That's, I'm 18 hours a day, 20 hours a day. I mean, just who I am. I mean, it's for 20 years, anyone that knows me knows that. But at one point, I know now that, and I'll be, there'll be days where I'm maybe deep in a project where I'll have, 3-4 hours of sleep, 2 hours of sleep, sometimes none. But as a general rule, I know I need about 6.5 to 7 hours of sleep. 6.5 to 7 hours of good sleep. And I use what's called a chili pad. Y'all can look up chili technology. And basically what it is a cover that goes on your mattress, and you can control the temperature of your bed. And so I would sleep really hot and get sweaty and wake up and not feel so good. And you try to find that other side of the pillow that's kind of cold, right? But this maintains whatever temperature that you sleep at. So I sleep at 68 degrees is my ideal temperature. My wife sleeps a little bit warmer, around 71. And you could kind of control the sleep. But having that sleep, I came to give a different meaning to it, meaning that it's not time that I'm not working. It's an investment. I'm investing in that time so that when I get up and go back out into activity, I have more productivity, more efficiency. And so before I was like, oh, if I'm sleeping, I'm missing something, or I'm not doing. That was the meaning I had towards not sleeping. And I'm tough, and I'm going to keep grinding, and I had to unlearn that methodology to think of sleep as a extremely valuable investment that I want to make an investment into every single day.
You said something earlier, and I had a new analogy that popped into my head because I've never thought of it in a real estate capacity before. But it's like you said, I take care of these homes, I build these homes, and I renovate them, right? So think of your house, like your house that you live in, your body, right? Pretty important one, probably the most important. And you take it. Let's just take a rental property, single family residential
all the
property.
Components here too. You have the electric system, which you said nervous. You have the plumbing. You can take that.
Very similar. It's very similar, right? So, I just remember one time because I was a mortgage broker back before the crash, and this lady's she called me because she wanted to get a reverse mortgage, and she's like, her roof was leaking. And she's on Social Security. Her husband's gone. She's $800 a month, living on nothing. And I'm like, you need this. You really need to get this loan so we can take some money out and repair the roof and button the house up again. Otherwise, all you're going to have is a lot. That's all it's going to be worth because it's going to crumble. And every day that goes by, you're going to have more dry rot and more damage, and it's going to be more expensive to fix it. Sound familiar? People just put things off. They put things off, and they put off their health until a wheel falls off. And all of a sudden they find themselves in an emergency room. And then it's tens of thousands, not hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe millions. Care is ridiculously expensive today. And that model, not the type of stuff that we're talking about where self-care and nutritional supplements and diet and nutrition and, hacking your sleep and all that kind of stuff. But boom, all your money can be gone very quickly trying to put that wheel back on. So if you're a real estate investor, you're going to take care of your rental property so it can keep producing an income for you. It can keep producing. So why wouldn't we just take care of our bodies so that we can keep producing it?
It's really that simple.
It's real simple.
It's actually super simple, and but it's it's the whole common sense is not so common, but it's. And I hear that people say, oh, it's very expensive. It's this, that, and the other. And I know I take it to an extreme, and doing, a lot of different, using a lot of different modalities beyond vitamin supplementation and things of that nature. But in reality, back to this kind of 80-20 rule, it's actually, a can of sardines, which people think is so gross and whatever. I don't know the last time you ate a sardine, but it tastes like tuna. It doesn't really smell like fish. It has 40 grams of protein in it. It's a vegetarian fish. People say, you are what you eat, which I think is an incomplete statement. It's actually, you are what you eats in reality. Literally. Yeah. So they're a vegetarian fish, and they're higher, they're very low on the food chain. It's a small fish, so they only eat plankton. But it's $1. for a can of sardines with 40 grams of protein, and a handful of lettuce, organic lettuce or organic spinach is like another $1.50 maybe. So I can eat what I would consider a perfect lunch for me would be like, you know, mostly this spinach or mixed greens or some sort of, or vegetables, whatever you want to throw in there, and a little can of sardines. And to me, that's a great lunch. And it costs me $3, you know, or $2. And so can you make all this stuff expensive and fancy and hire a chef and do some sort of like zucchini pasta with this, you know, do all these different things? Yeah, but fundamentally, can of sardines and, you know, a little handful of lettuce, few bucks if you're employed and in some capacity, you know, comes up to what, you know, 3 meals, $9 a day, $8 a day, you know, like, so there is a realm to do it that's not unbelievably expensive, and not needing a personal chef or, you know, any of these other things, which are great luxuries, but they're exactly that. They're luxuries. They're not, you know, necessities, but taking care of your health.
We actually just kind of talked about that, Carter. Remember we did that episode just with us, and I kind of gave some takeaways. One of them is eating lower on the food chain, eating simple. What happened to just picking an apple and eating it? And simplifying your life and getting back to nature, and the farther we are away from it. So, you know, I wanted to point out that's really smart. Like on the sardines, like you said, they eat plankton, you know, so they're very low on the food chain. In the ocean, usually it's called, these animals, us on land and in the ocean, we bioaccumulate toxins. And there's a lot of toxins out there today, especially in the ocean: mercury, cadmiums, leads, nickel, all these things. And not only in the ocean do you have bioaccumulation, but you have biomagnification, because as the little fish eats the next big fish, that's why he's not eating tuna, because by the time it gets to the tuna, there's each fish it's went up that food chain, and you've had the whole entire life of that food bioaccumulating, and it swallows it all in one gulp. And then it magnifies in that fish and goes to the next fish up the chain until the tuna is just polluted, you know, completely polluted. So that's just a little inside hack there. But Ari, what would you say, you know, for people that are, you know, just getting started, you know, your financial advisor, or just whatever, you know, whatever profession you have, garbage truck driver, nurse, or whatever. And you know, what are the 3 things that you've noticed that would make the biggest difference for the least amount of effort?
Sure. I'll give it to you very simply. Move your body vigorously, you know, whatever that means, however you can do that in whatever capacity that you can move your body vigorously. Eat more vegetables, you know, just in general, no matter what it is, just eat more real food. If it has a label on it, don't eat it. Like, it's just, you know, like for the most part, you know, eat more vegetables. Or I could swap that with eliminate sugar from your diet. And sugar is hidden in more things than we have any idea. Bread, if you look at the glycemic index of bread and like a turkey sandwich, right? And you say wheat bread, the glycemic index of a slice of bread is the same as a chocolate chip cookie. So you literally have 2 cookies on top of each other. So every time you eat a sandwich, think to yourself that I have 1 chocolate chip cookie, 1 chocolate chip on the bottom, and some turkey or lettuce, tomato, whatever you have that you're eating. So, and that goes for even fruit. There's even fruit that have very high sugar, like pineapple as an example, or cherries. They have high sugar. Eat low sugar fruit or no sugar fruit, like
berries,
raspberries. You know, and I think the last one is meditation. And I believe it to be one of the most fundamentally, profoundly important thing. Every, you know, adverb you can think of, that has resounding effects. I believe it to be a cornerstone habit that affects so many different other things. And even if it's for 2 minutes, you know, learning whatever modality, you know, serves you best. I do, like I said, transcendental meditation, or TM for short. There's local clinics all over the world. And with those 3 things, I think you're on your way to improving.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what they're doing to the turkey today? They're squirting sugar in the turkey too, and there's sugar in the mayonnaise. So you got a couple. It's crazy.
It's, you know, sugar is the, you know, I think the science is pretty conclusive that sugar is the killer. At one point they said it was salt or this, you know, it changes, right? This is good for you, that's bad for you. But at the end of the day, we do understand, you know, you look at type 2 diabetes, and I'm not a doctor, you know, or an advisor on any of this stuff. So these are just, literally my, my personal kind of opinions or things that I've seen. But, you look at some of these diseases, so much of them are preventable by eliminating sugar. I mean, sugar is so much, even the food they've seen, there's studies that, sugar is literally the food of cancer. If you want to feed cancer, to grow it, eat more sugar. Literally.
Wow.
So, I mean, sugar is, there is,
Well, where I started my journey at the Hippocrates Health Institute, people that come there, they have serious health issues. A lot of them, many of them, cancer. Like my friend Charles had chronic lymphocytic leukemia, blood cancer, and there is no sugar in the diet, none, zero.
That's right.
They took it out years ago, and they found out there was this gal named Edie Mae Huntsberg, and she went there and she had tumors, and they helped her, and her tumors went away, and then she'd go back. But every fall, her tumors would come back, and then they would go away, and every fall they come back. Well, she was very well liked in her neighborhood in Southern California. People would bring over figs and dates, loaded with sugar. So it's just fruit sugar too. So when you're in the conquest of disease,
I'm glad you're explaining that, because I have had this discussion a lot. Is that not all fruit is created equal. It's not fruit. There's minerals and electrolytes and all these great things. A great book called Quench that explains like how fruits and vegetables actually have a third form of water. It's almost like a plasma that can get into the cells a lot easier and creates hydration. Whatever, but there are certain fruits like figs and dates. You think, oh, it's fruit, it's whatever, but it's loaded with sugar. I mean, so are apples, so are cherries, so are pineapples, so is watermelon. Berries, raspberries, blueberries, blackberries, as a general rule, are the ones that even like a banana. Banana's super high in sugar, comparatively. And if you have any of those issues, I think that's a great place to start, is wipe out sugar.
Yeah, you want to take care of it, especially for cancer. What was really interesting is actually like processed cane sugar, which is like one molecule off of cocaine. If you look at the physical structure of it, it's almost identical. That is terrible for cancer. But you could eat an apple, and it's actually even worse for cancer because it's more natural. It's going to hit on about 74 receptor sites in that cancer cell.
Wow.
Whereas sugar, the refined sugar, is only going to hit on 5 because it's been bastardized. So they're both bad, but that's why you need to eliminate all sugars. And understand too that fruit isn't what it used to be. Fruit isn't like from nature anymore. They've been splicing it and hybriding it, and it's about 30 to 50 times sweeter than its natural origins. So we have that going on, because imagine driving by a fruit stand and you see, sour apples. How many people are going to pull in there and eat that? They're not. But if it says, sweet oranges, you're going to pull in and you're going to, oh, hey, let's get some oranges, right? It's not going to say sour on it, right? So that's what people, it's selling. They've been selling us stuff, and many of these fruits that we eat today didn't even exist. They've been so hybrid, one fruit mixed with another fruit, right? So we have to look at that. And then the other thing we have to look at with fruits is that if you're not eating fruit in your local area where you can because a real true fruit in nature, a wild creature is not going to pick that fruit. Neither would you. Let's say if you're going to get your dinner for the night and there's a fruit tree there, which fruit are you going to pick? The one that's ripe or the one that just fell off the tree? That one has the most enzyme activity. It's its peak potential for nutrition and all the stuff that Ari was talking about. But if it was shipped 1,500 to 25 miles on a boat, usually they pick them about 14 to 17 weeks early, green. It is not natural to eat something green. So it ripens on the way, and it's not natural. It's not truly ripe, and it actually steals and leaches minerals out of the bones. So if you're getting if you live like where I live up in Portland, Oregon or Chicago, and you're getting an apple from Mexico, guess what? It's not good for you. I mean, that's just the reality of it. So I hate to be Debbie Downer on these kind of things, but if you're in the conquest of disease, you need to know this stuff and understand that there are other options out there for sweet things you can do, like certain stevias and monk fruits, and there's ways to make things taste good and sweet, like cinnamons are good to add in for sweets and stuff like that.
And your taste buds change. Like I found for me, like when I was eating much more processed foods and before I went on this revolution, because it really is a mental, spiritual, physical revolution when you completely change how you eat, because they call it comfort foods for a reason. Like your grandma or grandpa, whatever, say, oh, just eat some cookies, or I made this fresh pie, and or whatever it is, whatever was the comfort that we call them, and you change those things. There's so many inherent ways that we think about food that have to change. It's not just, changing our, diet or changing our nutrition. It's really a lifestyle more than anything. For me, it certainly was. Like, it was so much more of a change beyond just what I was eating. The psychology around it had to change. The beliefs had to change around it. But what I used to think was sweet, and like a pumpkin pie, we still love a good pumpkin pie. When I stopped eating sugar as, I would say the 80%, 90% of the time of my life, or, whatever, 100% for years, the proverbial apple or blueberry or whatever that fruit was literally tasted sweeter to me than it did at one point, because I was used to the artificial sweeteners that were refined sugars that were so much sweeter. But it took a while, then my taste buds and my propensities changed, where, eating, the fruit tasted so much better. And I found the same thing with vegetables, found the same with fish. Like, I started to taste these natural flavors in a different way over time, as the processed foods were eliminated.
Did you also notice that things also, like, I was doing a class one time, and these people came over, and they were friends. And usually I was doing these raw living food dinners and stuff back in the day. And I picked up some soup at Whole Foods because they wanted me to. And I poured myself a bowl of it, and I tasted it. I had to put it down. I thought it was a mouthful of salt. There was no way I could eat it. And I said, "Is this good to you?" And like, "Oh my God, it's delicious." And I'm like, I can't even eat it. Your taste buds will change as you clean them out. All right. So I wanted to share something with you that I think you're going to find interesting. I think you might be the one person in the world that can pull this off.
Whoa! Okay? Oh, hold on a minute.
Ari is the guy.
Wow! We found him. I
pride myself on connecting people, right? Well, there's this guy that I met. His name's Andrew Pace, and he owns a company called the Green Design Center. Ari, you want to write that down? The Green Design Center. And the Green Design Center. He was doing the green movement before all this LEED certified green stuff. I had him on my podcast. You can watch episode 57 of the Health Hero Show. And his family's been in the building supply industry since the 1930s. But listen to the show. He went completely chemical free and non-toxic. And so what he does now, he has all non-toxic material from all the paints, caulking, grout. Everything is non-toxic, and he specializes with people that have high sensitivities, right? Now, everybody's sensitive to this stuff at some level, but I think with the way you were talking and all your spiritual practice and stuff like that, and really wanted to do good for humanity, this might be a really good connection where you guys can come together and build a space where people could come in and have, an airtight home, but that they can actually, without toxins in it, killing them, because this is causing a major problem in children.
I would love to meet them.
Yeah, well, definitely. I'll make an introduction. If you give me your cell phone through Carter, and I'll text you guys. You guys can connect. And I think he would be a great person to have on your new podcast as well.
Oh, thank you. That's wonderful advice, and sounds like a great, amazing concept and a great guy.
Yeah. So I see it in the future. Ari's going to have this chemical-free community.
Chemical-free
homes, baby. It's just going to be like nature in Texas.
Yeah, thank you for sharing the way that sharing my own belief system, what my own goal is as well. That's definitely the life and that I seek to design.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I'm super excited inside right now because I'm the one in the trenches day in and day out, talking to parents that are to sick children and stuff, and the mold and the toxic chemicals and the 5G from the smart meters and stuff like that. And I'd be happy to chip in with all the knowledge that I've downloaded over the last 11 years, whatever I could do to help you out in that process as well.
I love it too. Yeah, you definitely reach out to me offline. Carter, like I said, knows where to find me. We can definitely do that, and we'll trade notes. I call it kind of sharing jewels. Like, I got, or puzzle pieces. Like, I kind of got this piece, you have one piece, you kind of like exchange them. You kind of just, put it on the table and say, "Oh, I didn't know that, but I didn't know that one. Hey, I didn't,
Yeah. I'm thinking too, we'll have a conversation offline and kind of exchange some hacks
Let's do it.
Because I'm sure you got a couple that I haven't found yet, and I know I got a couple that you probably don't. And then I could actually have you on my show.
I don't know if I do, but I'm sure you have a bunch.
But we could do some hacks on my show, and then I could have you on the show and say, hey, this is what I picked up from Ari, and this is what he picked up from me, and this is what we've experienced. That would be a really fun episode.
I love it. I got to jump, guys. But this has been tremendous. Thank you so much for having me, and that was really cool.
Hey, let me go ahead and just take us out then, Ari. And I want to throw in one more last shameless plug, if you will, for the gift of failure being released in December. Make sure you check it out. The Gift of Failure from Ari Rastegar. So for my co-host, Mr. Chemical Free Body himself, Tim James, and our esteemed, wonderful, amazing guest that we had today, Ari Rastegar of Rastegar, Austin, 38 different cities throughout the country, or 38 states in the country. There's so much.
The Oracle Commercial Building.
Totally. All the show notes were being here, so you can be able to learn all about Ari's.
Ari, that dude from Austin. That dude from Austin. I'll take that.
The dude from Austin, my new friend. So I'm Carter Wilcoxon, CEO and founder of CSI Financial Group. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the Health and Wealth Podcast Show on wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and make sure to check out any of the previous podcasts by going to the Health and Wealth Podcast Show.com and check out our website, and make sure you check all of those previous ones out. So again, for Ari Rastegar and Mr. Chemical Free Body Tim James, I'm Carter Wilcoxon. Have a phenomenal and abundant day, and may everybody have a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you, everybody. Hey, Enrichers. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Health and Wealth Podcast. I'm your host, Carter Wilcoxon.
And I'm your host, Tim James. And by God, we are committed to helping you guys have fat wallets, flat bellies. So tune in again for another episode, and make sure to like, share, and drink a lot of water.
Or beer.
You have just listened to the Health and Wealth Podcast with Carter and Tim.